Welcome to Deep Sleep Stories. My name is Matt. On YouTube, we post just one new story each week, but on our podcast, you'll find several fresh episodes released throughout the week. You can listen to us on all major platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Audible, Pandora, and more, all completely ad-free. Just look us up under the same name, Deep Sleep Stories, and enjoy. Now, take a deep breath, and let's begin tonight's story.
Welcome to Deep Sleep Stories, where soft words and gentle moments weave a tapestry of calm. Tonight, you're invited to settle in and join a journey that drifts along the silent waters of Lake Tahoe, a place where the moonlight shimmers across quiet shores, and the hush of tall pines offers a lullaby to weary minds. Take this moment to let your body sink into whatever is supporting you, feeling its warmth and comfort beneath you. Inhale with ease, filling your lungs with fresh air, and exhale slowly, releasing the day's worries. Notice your muscles relaxing from the top of your head and all the way down to the tips of your toes, as though each breath gently unwinds a hidden knot of tension, leaving you calm, peaceful, and ready to drift away. As you listen, allow your thoughts to float by like a light breeze across the surface of a quiet lake. There is no rush here, no pressure to hold on to any concern or care. Simply let each thought sail away, replaced by the softness of a gentle hush. Breathe in again, a little deeper now, and exhale with a soft sigh, releasing even more of your day. The focus is on your comfort, on the slow, steady rhythm of your heartbeat, on the soothing lull of your own breath. Imagine each inhalation drawing in serenity, and each exhalation letting go of anything that weighs you down. Already you might sense your shoulders growing lighter, your neck and back loosening, and your mind beginning to slip into that hazy in-between space where dreams are formed. Sink into the quiet within and feel the subtle shift toward a serene mood. If any stray worries remain, picture them dissolving like mist as the evening settles in. For tonight, your only task is to breathe, relax, and listen to a gently unfolding tale of still waters, moonlit forests, and a timeless hush that brings deep, restful sleep. In a moment, we will drift into the story proper, allowing the peaceful images to carry you ever closer to slumber. Let your eyelids grow heavy if they wish, and let your breathing slow. You are safe here, in this soft and comforting space. The tale will unfold in hushed tones, inviting you to slip from wakefulness into rest. Allow your body to relax further with every word, every pause, and every soft breath. And now, let us begin. On a late summer evening, a hush fell over the shores of Lake Tahoe. The waters were extraordinarily still, like a perfectly polished mirror catching the gentle glow of moonlight overhead. A warm breeze passed through the tall pine trees, making their needles sway in a slow dance, as if they were whispering sleepy secrets to one another. In a hidden, rocky cove near the water's edge, a solitary figure stood. Her name was Mara, and she'd come to Lake Tahoe seeking that quiet sense of reflection and tranquility one can only find in nature's gentle embrace. Mara had spent the afternoon wandering through meandering forest trails that hugged the lake's rim. She moved at a thoughtful pace, pausing every so often to admire curious shapes of driftwood or to listen to the quiet babble of freshwater streams trickling down from higher elevations. The sky was bright and expansive during the day, an almost impossible blue that made every color around her shine with renewed vibrancy. But as dusk approached, the sky had turned pastel, tinted with soft lilacs and peaches, eventually giving way to a velvety cobalt arch where the first stars began to peek through. By the time Mara arrived at the water's edge, a gentle hush had replaced the daytime hum of activity. There were no voices here, no rush or hurry, only the distant songs of the evening birds and the tranquil hush of a light breeze sweeping across the lake's surface. It was so quiet that she could hear her own heartbeat, a delicate pulsing, steady and calm. She felt as though she had entered a realm set aside for peaceful contemplation, a place where the outside world dissolved into the deep lull of nature. The air carried a soothing scent of pine, earth, and water that reminded her of simpler, carefree days. She found a flat, smooth rock close to the shoreline and settled onto it with an exhalation of contentment. From this vantage point, she could see the lake stretch out into a dim horizon where the silhouettes of distant mountains rose like silent guardians. Lake Tahoe was full of stories and secrets, legends of its formation, histories of those who had traveled along its shores, and memories held gently by tall evergreens that watched decades pass in stillness. Mara felt a gentle awe toward it all, as though the lake were an ancient keeper of wisdom, silently offering solace to those willing to slow down and listen. As twilight melted into night, the moon rose high in the sky, draping the water's surface in silvery luminescence. Each gentle ripple became a reflection of star-sparkled light, creating the illusion of tiny dancing pearls across the lake. Mara closed her eyes for a moment, relishing the hushed ambience that soothed her spirit. In that near silence, she could sense something resonate within her, a deep understanding that mirrored the calm of the water itself. Time slipped by effortlessly. The hours of the night did not press upon Mara with any sense of urgency. Instead, the rhythm of the lake guided her breathing, slow and unhurried. A gentle hush of the water's edge invited her to release everything, every concern, every lingering tension in her muscles. While the rest of the world spun on in its usual frenzied dance here by the lake, there was space to simply be. Overhead, the stars multiplied, revealing a dazzling tapestry across the sky. The constellations seemed more vivid here than in any city. Orion's belt glinted, the Big Dipper arched gracefully, and the Milky Way splayed out in a broad, ethereal band. Mara lifted her gaze to take in this cosmic panorama, feeling her breath catch in gentle wonder. It was as if all the glittering heavens were aligned just to bless this moment of peace. She she could almost hear the hum of stardust drifting above her. Sometimes a faint gust of wind would rustle the pine needles, carrying their evergreen scent closer. Sometimes a fish would break the water's surface to snap at an insect, leaving a ripple that spread outward in concentric circles. Yet each disturbance quickly receded back into the hush, as though the lake itself was dedicated to preserving this profound peace. Mara thought about the day she had lived, the small events and fleeting worries that had occupied her mind. In this place, those everyday cares seemed to dissolve, replaced by the tender hush of the night. Eventually, Mara rose from her rocky seat. Drawn to walk along the shoreline, she strolled with unhurried steps, listening to the soft crunch of stones beneath her feet. Occasionally, the water kissed the shore in a gentle, lapping sound. A nighttime lullaby, whispered by the lake itself. She passed groves of pine trees that leaned over the water, their silhouettes cast as elongated shadows on the moonlit ground. Her hand brushed against the rough bark of an ancient trunk, feeling the sturdy presence it had carried through seasons of sun, snow, wind, and rain. With each step, Mara felt her mind growing calmer, as though the hush of the lake's waters was entering her own thoughts, washing them clean of busyness. She closed her eyes to the world for a short time, letting her other senses guide her. The touch of the breeze on her cheeks, the scent of the forest, and the soft song of water against shoreline. These were the gentle invitations that beckoned her deeper into a resting state of grace. Further along, in a small clearing just off the trail, she came upon an arrangement of smooth stones and pebbles, as if an unknown traveler before her had carefully formed them into a spiral design. Soft moonlight gave the stones a faint silvery glow. Mara kneeled beside this quiet piece of art, a subtle expression of appreciation for the landscape. She placed one hand lightly on a smooth pebble, feeling its cool surface, and felt a sense of wonder that someone had taken the time to honor nature in so simple and harmonious a way. It was a gentle reminder. The lake offered its silent presence, and in return, those who visited might offer their own reflections of gratitude. Beyond that clearing, an old wooden dock extended quietly over the water, worn by the passing of many seasons. Mara stepped onto it with tender care, listening to the slight creak of the weathered boards beneath her feet. The dock swayed gently, each motion like a breath in the stillness. At the end of the dock, she found a humble wooden bench. She sat down, folding her hands in her lap, and gazed out onto the mirror-like lake. Here, the moon's reflection was brightest, shimmering in wavy contours. The scene felt dreamlike, as though it existed in a realm between wakefulness and slumber. While sitting in this pocket of serenity, Mara allowed her mind to explore gentle memories, childhood summers spent by lakes and streams, the comforting presence of grandparents who taught her the names of trees and birds, a cherished friend with whom she once shared secrets under star-dappled skies, Each memory surfaced and then faded gently, leaving behind a serene glow. She felt grateful for the tapestry of her life and all the quiet wonders it held. With each pleasant recollection, she noticed a deeper calm settling within her, as if the lake's tranquility had become her own. Somewhere in the distance, a light from a cabin glowed briefly, then flickered out. The hush grew more profound. The trees stood motionless, listening. The water glinted with faint starlight, receiving each sparkle and reflecting it back into the night. It was here that Mara found the purest stillness, one that seeped into her bones, inviting her to let go of all that was not essential. She felt as though she could linger here forever, cradled by moon and water, lulled by pine-scented breezes, gently carried away by the softened hush of her surroundings. After a long while, she rose and made her way back toward a small shelter nestled among the pines. She prepared a cozy spot to sleep, with warm blankets and a cushion of soft leaves nearby. The cabin, though simple, offered shelter from the night's chill. But before retiring to bed, Mara paused beneath the sky to take in one final deep breath of the lake's magic. The air was crisp, with a faint coolness that whispered, "Rest." That night, as Mara drifted in and out of dreams, the tranquil images of the moonlit lake followed her. She saw the ripples of water shining under starlight, felt the gentle sway of the dock, heard the nocturnal hush woven by pine needles and nightbirds. Each scene guided her deeper into restful slumber. In her mind's eye, she watched the sun rise gently, painting the landscape with the soft glow of dawn. The waters of Lake Tahoe transformed from silver to gold in her dreams, a tranquil metamorphosis that ushered her into a peaceful new day. Morning came quietly, introduced by a pale light seeping over the mountains. The air was cool and fresh, and the surface of the lake glistened in subtle pastel hues. Mara stirred, opening her eyes to the faint calls of morning birds. She emerged from her blankets, breathing in the fragrant pine-scented air. There was a sense that the world around her was slowly awakening, each creature greeting the soft light with a gentle hush rather than a bustling rush. A serene acceptance of the new day permeated the atmosphere, reminding her that life, in its truest form, can be wonderfully simple. She took a short walk to the water's edge, where a tiny portion of the shoreline caught the early rays of sun. The lake spread before her, translucent in its shallows, allowing a glimpse of smooth stones beneath the surface. Farther out it deepened into a calm blue that hinted at great depths. Tiny fish darted near the rocks, flickering silver in the morning light. The forest beyond stood tall and dignified, like steadfast guardians. And overhead, a few stray clouds glowed with soft pink and lilac accents, reflecting the gentle warmth that the sun offered to the sky. Mara spent the morning in silent observation. She watched as the breeze lifted the surface of the lake in minute ripples. She noticed the way sunbeams fell through tree branches, creating playful patterns on the ground. She heard the distant call of a bird echo among the pines. It was an unhurried reverence, a personal meditation on the interconnected harmony of all things. The large boulders along the shoreline, warmed by the day's first light, spoke of strength and steadiness. The trees, rooted in ancient soil, hinted at patience and enduring wisdom. Even the shimmering insects that danced above the lake contributed a subtle grace to the morning tapestry. Eventually she felt drawn to move, to partake in the gentle rhythms unfolding around her. Taking off her shoes, she dipped her toes into the clear water. It was cool enough to send a quick shiver through her, but not unwelcoming. She ventured a few steps deeper, letting the water lap around her ankles. The sensation was at once exhilarating and soothing, connecting her physically to the vast calm of the lake. A silent conversation seemed to pass between her and the water, as if Lake Tahoe welcomed her presence, acknowledging her spirit's need for healing and peace. By midday, the sun had climbed higher, bathing the lake in a mellow warmth. A few wispy clouds meandered across the sky. The forest path beckoned once again, leading to a secluded clearing not far from the shore. In this clearing stood a lone, tall pine, a sentinel of the forest. Long, tapering branches reached out, casting a generous circle of shade. Mara sat at its base, leaning her back against the trunk. She let her fingers graze over the thick blanket of pine needles beneath her, feeling their soft rustle. High above, the branches swayed ever so gently, their piney perfume drifting down like a delicate invitation to rest. As she sat there, the world around her seemed suspended in its own gentle trance. The hush of midday enveloped her, broken only by the faint chirp of a bird in the distance. Shafts of sunlight broke through the canopy, creating patterns of light and shadow on the forest floor. Within this quiet, Mara felt an indescribable sense of belonging. Any lingering doubts or worries melted away, replaced by a profound stillness in her core. She recalled old recollections of being a child, lying in the grass, watching the clouds drift overhead, without a care. There was a sweetness to that memory, a gentleness that resonated with her current sense of peace. Lost in this reverie, she almost didn't notice how time slipped by. Only the soft rumble of her stomach indicated that hours had passed. She smiled, standing slowly and shaking off stray needles that clung to her clothes. Gathering some simple provisions, she enjoyed a quiet lunch near the lake shore. A light meal taken in slow, thoughtful bites. Each flavor felt more vivid in the open air, enhanced by the tranquil hush that made everything seem more alive. A gentle breeze passed, brushing her cheek, and she paused mid-bite, silently thanking the moment for its grace. The afternoon brought subtle shifts to the landscape. The sun, arching westward, began to cast longer shadows across the water. The temperature cooled slightly, and a faint wind picked up, rippling the surface of the lake Mara decided to walk another path, one that took her higher, along a gentle slope overlooking Lake Tahoe. Step by step she ascended, feeling her heart pump steadily. Occasional footbridges and small wooden signs guided her way. Underfoot, the soft crunch of pine needles offered a rhythmic counterpoint to the whispering wind. Reaching a vantage point about halfway up a hillside, Mara paused to catch her breath. Below, the lake unfurled in majestic splendor. The deep, clear water stretched as far as she could see, framed by a ring of tall, pine-covered slopes. The afternoon light bathed the scene in gold. For a moment, she simply stood there, letting the view fill her senses. A gentle, exhilarating calm filled her chest, an appreciation not just for the physical beauty, but for the profound stillness that infused every corner of this place. With the sun beginning its descent, Mara turned back down the trail. The forest shifted in hue, the warm green notes deepening into softer tones, as if preparing itself for twilight's hush. She lingered near a babbling brook, listening to water tumble over mossy stones. Such a tiny, playful sound, yet layered with the same serenity that characterized Lake Tahoe itself. Kneeling down, she touched the cool water, feeling its gentle flow through her fingers. A leaf drifted by, caught in the mild current, eventually carried away to the lake beyond. Returning to the shoreline, Mara found the day nearing its close. The sky was colored in a medley of pink, orange, and purple, mirrored by the water's glassy surface. She settled on a stretch of sandy bank, tucking her knees under her chin. In the distance, the sun dipped behind the mountains, leaving a final, glowing halo. The hush of evening enveloped her once more. It was a comforting, familiar embrace, the culmination of the day's quiet wonders. An owl hooted softly as if announcing the night's approach. In response, the lake shimmered with a final, luminous wink, calm and unbroken. As dusk settled, Mara made her way back to the cozy dwelling in the pines, lit now by the golden softness of a lantern. Inside, she arranged her sleeping space, fluffing a pillow and smoothing out her blankets. Yet before tucking herself in, she stepped outside to bid the lake good night. The moon had risen again, this time a warm crescent hanging low over the horizon. It reflected in the water with a gentle glow that looked both comforting and mysterious. Standing by the threshold, she closed her eyes and listened. The night welcomed her, wrapping her in a wordless lullaby that spoke of deep rest and gentle renewal. That evening was still and cool. Mara drifted easily to sleep. Her dreams were filled with the hush of water and moonlit paths through whispering pines. She saw herself wandering along the shore, barefoot in the pale sand, guided by the moon's reflection on the surface. Stars wheeled overhead in silent arcs, each one a guardian of the night's peaceful promise. Gradually, her breath became slow and rhythmic, rising and falling like the tide. She surrendered wholly to the comfort of Lake Tahoe's embrace, trusting that every gentle detail, every ripple every soft pine sigh would watch over her slumber. When morning dawned the next day, Mara felt refreshed, as though she had traveled far into the realms of rest, and then returned, carrying a piece of the lake's stillness with her. The sunrise came in muted pastels, illuminating gentle mist along the water. Tiny beams of sunlight filtered through the trees, lighting up the dewdrops clinging to needles and leaves. She emerged from her warm blankets to greet the day with a renewed gratitude. Something had changed within her. An intangible peace had settled in her heart, a clarity of mind that made her steps feel lighter. Gathering a few modest supplies, Mara decided to start her morning with a quiet practice of reflection. She returned to the old wooden dock and sat cross-legged at its edge, gazing into the pristine waters. In the daylight, she could see fish swimming lazily, their slender bodies flickering near submerged stones. The reflection of clouds overhead drifted across the lake's surface, creating a mesmerizing show of light and shadow. She inhaled deeply, feeling the cool morning air fill her lungs, and exhaled in a slow, measured sigh. As she remained still, the hush around her seemed to magnify. Each small sound, a branch creaking, a bird shifting in the pines, a faint ripple, gained a certain clarity against the backdrop of silence. Her thoughts also slowed, like silt settling at the bottom of a clear pond. She focused on the sensations of her body, the soft wooden boards beneath her legs, the light breeze across her cheeks, the comforting weight of her own presence. It was a tender moment of communion between herself, nature, and the intangible serenity that bound them together. Time continued its gentle flow, and Mara felt the warmth of the sun rising higher into the sky. She reached into a small pack at her side and took out a journal to capture the gentle reflections that had been blooming in her mind. The words came slowly, each one chosen with care. She wrote about the quiet nights under moonlight, the silken hush of the water, the sensation of letting go. Perhaps, she thought, in capturing these moments in ink, she could hold on to the peace they brought, carrying it forward into the rush of everyday life. By midday, she gathered her things once more. A mild wanderlust nudged her to explore another portion of the lake shore, somewhere she had not yet roamed. With a light step, she followed a winding path through the pine forest, letting intuition guide her. Soft patches of sunlight fell on the forest floor, and the scent of warm pine needles drifted in the air. Every so often she would pause to listen to the echoing call of a distant bird, or to feel the brush of a fern against her palm. It was a slow walk, free of any destination other than the next quiet moment. Eventually the path opened to a secluded cove, where large boulders framed a narrow beach of smooth pebbles. The lake water here was exceptionally clear, tinted with emerald hues near the shoreline. A gentle slope led underwater, inviting a calm wade. Mara removed her shoes once more and stepped carefully into the cool shallows. She felt the pebbles shift under her feet, each step a subtle sensory delight. She could see tiny fish dart away, their translucent bodies flashing. Standing knee-deep, she let her arms drift at her sides, allowing her eyes to close. The gentle water rocked around her legs in a comforting rhythm, washing away the last traces of tension. When she opened her eyes, the mid-afternoon light sparkled across the waters. A playful breeze carried the scent of pine and distant wildflowers from higher meadows. With a small smile, Mara sank down onto a sturdy rock near the shore, letting her feet dangle in the water. She gazed out at the cove, marveling at how each spot around the lake held its own unique quality of hush. Here, the wind made a rustling music through the branches, and every ripple of the lake caught the sunlight differently, weaving together a gentle lullaby only nature could compose. She spent the remaining hours of daylight in this quiet spot, sometimes journaling, sometimes simply breathing. The sun slowly descended, painting the sky in muted gold before deepening into dusky pinks. Eventually dusk began its tender approach, blanketing the horizon in calm shades of blue. Mara gathered herself to return. The forest path glowed in the twilight, and the hush grew palpable, as though the land itself was leaning in to say, "Rest now." Night descended once again, bringing with it a pale moon suspended over the tranquil lake. Mara settled at the shore near her cabin, where she built a small, safe fire in a ring of stones. The dancing flames illuminated her face, casting flickering shadows on the pines. She warmed her hands, reflecting on the gifts Lake Tahoe had offered: clarity of mind, softness of heart, and a spaciousness in which she found renewed harmony. Gazing into the embers, she recalled each silent moment, each gentle breeze, each ripple on the lake, each luminous star, and felt grateful. When the fire had burned down to glowing coals, she poured water over it and stirred until only steam rose. Turning to face the moonlit lake, she bowed her head in a silent gesture of thanks. Then she made her way into the cabin, the hush escorting her inside. Her bedding awaited, soft and comforting, promising another deep and peaceful sleep under Lake Tahoe's watchful gaze. Crawling under the blankets, she felt the stillness wrap around her like an old friend, gently guiding her into dreams of shimmering waters and silent moonlit paths. Much like the nights before, her dreams were tranquil, woven with the melodies of the lakeshore, the whisper of pines, and the mellow glow of moonlight. With each slow, steady breath, she wandered through a landscape of gentle wonders. Sometimes she floated along the surface of the water, sometimes she roamed the forest floor, and sometimes she simply sat on a rock, gazing at the stars. All the while, a deep calm enfolded her, lulling her into the most restful state she had ever known. Morning eventually came, quietly as always, offering the calm beauty of Lake Tahoe in dawn's glow. Soft sunlight kissed the tips of the pines, and the surface of the water shimmered in pastel reflection. Mara rose, feeling an unhurried energy within her. There was no rush to leave this sanctuary, and yet she sensed it might be her time to move on. She gathered her belongings, tidied the cabin, and took one last walk along the shore. The lake was as still as a mirror, mirroring her own peaceful state back at her. She placed her hand on her heart in a final salute to this place of quiet magic. With a slow, deliberate breath, Mara stepped away from the water, guiding her footsteps along the forest path that led out. As she traveled, she carried with her the hush of Lake Tahoe's waters, a reminder that peace resides both in the silence of nature and in the gentle rhythms of one's own heart. The tall pines waved their goodbye in a soft rustle, and the sparkling reflection on the lake's surface seemed to wink, offering a silent blessing for her journey ahead. Although she was leaving, the spirit of this tranquil place would remain with her, a soft echo in her days and nights, reminding her always to pause, breathe, and listen. In the quiet that follows this story, let yourself linger in the restful space created by these gentle images. Let the soft lapping of the lake's water and the hush of the pines remain alive in your mind, guiding you slowly into deeper relaxation. Each breath is like a tender ripple moving out across the calm surface, gradually dissolving into the tranquil expanse. Feel your body grow heavy and warm, sinking further into the support beneath you. You may sense your eyes becoming heavier, your limbs relaxing to the point where they feel almost weightless. The tempo of your thoughts has slowed, each one drifting with the ease of a cloud across a quiet sky. There's nothing you need to do now but allow sleep to come gently and naturally. The hush of Lake Tahoe is still with you, whispering sweet lullabies in the stillness. Let that hush envelop you in a comforting embrace. As the edges of wakefulness soften and blur, allow yourself to float in that serene threshold. Each soft inhale, each peaceful exhale is an invitation to slip further into the realm of restful slumber. There is a vast, quiet space within you, mirroring the silent waters of Lake Tahoe, ready to cradle your dreams. Let the memory of moonlit shores and soft pine breezes carry you onward, away from the strains of the day, into a place of deep repose and healing. Good night, dear traveler. Sleep well. May your dreams be as gentle as the moonlit waters, and may you awaken refreshed, carrying within you the tranquil spirit of the lake's reflection. Let this comfort guide you into a peaceful, restorative slumber, where the hush of nature and the stillness of night become one with your quiet heart. Sleep now, enfolded in calm. Sleep deeply and peacefully.